can seeds sprout that really develop a whole different way of responding to people. The revolution happens from people understanding a different narrative, making real life practical changes. And here's the key. And as they do so, their narrative is founded in truth. Do we really think that all your distress arises just from your brain chemistry? We respond to environments. Once we see that, and once we say, well, listen, I don't just exist like a mind walking apart from the environment and my mind being depressed or whatever, we know that's nonsense. We respond to the environment. So once you see that, you say like, okay, you go out and like get these new seeds sprouting that show different ways. Understanding what science is really showing us, what philosophy is really showing us, what personal experience shows us, what history shows us, what literature shows us, all that shows us. It's in this alternative narrative, this counter narrative, where we see what we know to be true about human beings. This other narrative gets understood and gets promoted, even in whatever circles. And then seeds of practice are changed. It helps people reform their own self-conception. And you have things like Sateria Israel, you have things like open dialogue, you have medication-free places in Norway, you have respite houses showing up. So there are these seeds being planted. And you get these little pockets where the conception of what's happening is very different. Even within the mainstream academic community, there is an acknowledgement that their story that they wanted to tell 30 years ago has fallen apart. Diagnoses haven't been validated as real illnesses. So that whole biological story that was presented to us beginning in the 1980s, they have to admit there's an increasing admission that it didn't pan out. And that opens the shift for a paradigm, at least a change in conversation and all. That said, I'm pretty pessimistic when it comes to changing the existing system. And now we hope that they just don't get crushed by the mainstream. But you can't change existing systems where people are benefiting and have power from that. What you have to do is plant new seeds. I'm quite sure of that.